Okay, guys, we got to talk about some pretty big things going on in the San Francisco office market because landlords right now are getting hammered pretty hard. Like, it's not even funny to see this because you got massive buildings worth billions of dollars essentially, and they're going to the foreclosure route. You got almost $1 trillion of office real estate so far in California, just pretty much being evaporated through thin air. And San Francisco is by far leading the charge in terms of office values going down. WeWork nears bankruptcy, leaving San Francisco landlords exposed. At one point, there's some buildings in San Francisco that have a lot of WeWork in them. And they are actually doing not that bad during this situation. Now, if you guys don't know what's going on here, San Francisco office real estate is probably the worst I've ever seen in the entire world. Like, people talk about how Seattle's bad, Manhattan's bad, Hong Kong, Singapore, or Tokyo's bad. I mean, San Francisco is on a whole different league in terms of bad. So WeWork actually kept many landlords afloat because WeWork took up like 20%, 30%, even 50% of some landlords' office spaces. And now WeWork is going broke. Their stock is at $1, 98% drop. They're filing for a Chapter 11 bankruptcy super early on. And we also have millions and millions of dollars of debt. We're also seeing them defaulting on a massive loan in the skyscraper industry. If you also look around here, look at all the space that they're just ditching, right? 430 California Street, you got 250,000 square feet of space. They're going to be defaulting on this. Now, if you go online and check out 430 California Street, this is a very, very good location. This isn't like a bad location at all. And WeWork is pretty much just taking the L at this point. This is right next to the Transamerica Bay Pyramid building, so the location is pretty good. And look at how fat this building is. This is probably one of the better districts in terms of offices. And WeWork is abandoning 250,000 square feet of space, probably like half of these floors, maybe even more, which is leaving this building exposed because they're not going to get any new tenants. What tech company has the right mind to come to San Francisco? Maybe OpenAI and ChatGPT, but other than some of the AI companies, many of the companies and startups no longer want to go to San Francisco to build themselves. Look at this. Another skyscraper owned by Boston Properties. WeWork leases about 15% of the square footage space. Building is currently about almost 90% leased out, but once WeWork leaves, it's going to take a pretty heavy beating. And like I said before, these are all very, very good office buildings that have been pretty much destroyed by the pandemic. And with WeWork leaving, it's not great at all. Look at this building. This is another one of those very, very nice buildings here. Even have like a very nice front entrance as well. And look at how massive that is. That is a massive building. This is not small by any means. We're looking at by far multi-billion-dollar landlords that are pretty much freaking out because you have 10, 20, 30% of the whole entire building now being vacant because WeWork left. So buildings initially are not on like default list, but with WeWork on, they're kind of getting on the default list. And look at all these buildings. They used to be leased out at over 90%. Now, many of these buildings with WeWork on, they're dropping like rocks. If you also look at this, WeWork goes bankrupt, files to abandon 7 Bay Area leases, because not every single lease is in San Francisco, but the rest of the Bay Area. We're seeing sky-high prices in terms of rent in many of these places. Nobody really wants to be paying, even now, $500,000 for 1 bedroom. Though it's way cheaper than before, people just don't want to do that. People don't really want to pay $2,000 to live in San Francisco and live like almost a homeless life, right? Bars and restaurants are closing down. You're seeing many of these industries just leaving, and not to mention the layoffs. The layoffs are even scarier and crazier. And it really just shows you that there's no more trust in San Francisco. Just look at the new IKEA store that recently opened up, right? This really shows you that real estate just really isn't that great. The San Francisco IKEA store is now totally deserted. Not because it's a bad store. In fact, I could almost argue that the San Francisco IKEA is probably one of the better ones out there. They're even trying to open up a high-end IKEA food court in them. If you have checked out the San Francisco IKEA store, it's actually pretty nice. It's on Market Street, but there's one thing about Market Street. Market Street is just filled with homeless people, tents, drug use. It's just a whole different world, right? It's right next to the Civic Center. It's right next to the Tenderloin. Market Street used to be okay, but now there's no more tourists. In fact, business on Market Street is so poor. Even San Francisco's biggest mall, right here, Westview Mall, has now shut down due to 50% whopping vacancies, whereas Westfield actually said that in their other locations, vacancies will not hit above 8%. For San Francisco, vacancies are hitting over 50%. So yeah, even IKEA is like, they're not getting that much business, right? And the reason why IKEA isn't getting business on Market Street is because there's just so much crime, right? This is one of the areas where customers say there's consistent construction, but that's not even the worst of it. You have lack of parking and constant crime in surrounding areas. Keeps a lot of these people from shopping at this location. So IKEA pretty much wasted a store, right? At first, San Francisco was very, very hyped up for IKEA, but there's a reason why Old Navy left. There's a reason why Whole Foods left. So it doesn't really make sense why IKEA came in, but I'm sure they regret it because this store is not making them any sales or any sort of business, and they're pretty mad about that. I'm sure they want their money back. But hey, it's a capitalist market. IKEA's just going to have to deal with it. They made a bad decision to open their store right next to a massive homeless encampment. So if you look at this, there's troubling data that shows 34% of downtown San Francisco office space is empty. And the scary part is this isn't even like an accurate depiction of the vacancy rates. Because if you look at WeWork, for example, right? They're dropping out of the race. But remember, that's because they're going bankrupt. Many offices like 181 Fremont, 500,000 square feet is still technically occupied by Facebook. So that number is going to be added onto the vacancy list. That's because their lease doesn't end until 2031, but the office workers have already left. And instead, if you shift your attention away from the 34% downtown vacancy, which is insanely bad, like we're talking about some 2008 type level bad, shift away from this and look at the amount of office workers in San Francisco. Businesses and bars are saying that there's 50% less business in terms of bookings of restaurants and bookings of bars and clubs. And that pretty much shows you very well that many of the office workers in downtown San Francisco just no longer come back. They've lost around 150,000 office employees. Yes, 150K office employees no longer commute to San Francisco for work. Many of them working online, and now you have high interest rates, which is also causing one major aspect, which is here. Lots and lots of layoffs. It's not just the Amazon workers, but you also have the small family restaurants, small family businesses, and more importantly, guys like Adobe's laying off employees, Uber's laying off employees, Salesforce laying off employees. If you guys have been following the news anywhere, just type in tech layoffs. You're going to be seeing massive amounts of companies laying off thousands and thousands of workers. We're seeing one of the biggest layoffs, one of the fastest upticks of unemployment, from 3.3 to 3.9% in a matter of just a couple months. The unemployment rate is taking up super duper fast. And I kind of see why co-working spaces are no longer popular. And also WeWork themselves just also really over-leverage themselves, which causes massive disruption. So the office market is fully disrupted, right? WeWork is near bankruptcy. WeWork is gone. We're now going to be seeing even more skyscrapers being added on the default alert list. Get ready. Thanks for watching, guys. Comment below and see you later.